Most people think saving your first $10,000 is just about having more money in the bank, but something much bigger starts to happen. Your relationship with money starts to change. Before $10,000, every unexpected expense can feel like an emergency. But with $10,000 sitting there, the same problem suddenly feels manageable. You don't suddenly have unlimited money, you simply have options. And that's the real power of your first $10,000. It's not the number itself. It's what that number allows you to do next. The first thing I noticed after reaching $10,000 was that I stopped checking my bank account with anxiety. A bill could show up tomorrow, and I knew I could handle it. That meant I didn't have to put every surprise expense on a credit card. And avoiding that high-interest debt made the savings even more valuable. I also stopped making financial decisions based purely on fear. Instead of asking, what if something goes wrong, I could finally ask, what's the smartest move? And that mental shift is probably the biggest benefit of having your first $10,000. Once you have a solid $10,000 cushion, your biggest expense doesn't feel quite as scary anymore. You can handle a car repair, a medical bill, or even a few weeks without income without immediately falling into debt. That gives you something most people don't have: time. And time gives you the ability to make better decisions instead of desperate ones. Maybe you can leave a terrible job without panicking about next month's bills. Maybe you can wait for a better opportunity instead of taking the first one you're offered. That's why $10,000 isn't just an emergency fund. It's a small piece of financial freedom. But here's where a lot of people make their next mistake. They reach $10,000 and simply leave it sitting there forever. Once your emergency fund is covered, your next goal should be making your money work for you. That could mean investing for the long term, paying down expensive debt, or saving toward a bigger financial goal. The important part is that your $10,000 should have a purpose. Because saving money is only the first step, building wealth is what comes after. And this is where compound growth starts becoming your friend. You don't need to become an expert overnight. You just need to stop thinking of $10,000 as the finish line. But there's another danger after hitting $10,000, thinking you've finally made it. You hit your first big milestone, and suddenly that old car starts feeling embarrassing. Then the nicer apartment starts looking reasonable. And if you're not careful, $10,000 can become the reason you start spending more. That's why the goal shouldn't be to look richer after $10,000. It should be to become financially stronger. So when your income goes up, don't automatically let your lifestyle go up with it. Because the fastest way from $10,000 to $25,000 isn't earning more just to spend more. It's keeping the gap. Once you've built your first $10,000 cushion, there's only so much you can cut from your budget. At some point, increasing your income becomes much more powerful than cutting another $20 expense. That could mean learning a valuable skill, asking for a raise, or switching to a better paying job. You could even build a small side income without quitting your main job. The key is not to use that extra income to upgrade your lifestyle immediately. If you can keep your lifestyle roughly the same while your income rises, your savings rate can explode. And that's how your first $10,000 can become the foundation for your next $25,000. So what should you actually do once you have your first $10,000? First, make sure you actually have an emergency fund you can access quickly. If you have expensive high-interest debt, paying that down can be one of the best uses of your money. Once those basics are handled, you can start putting long-term money to work. And don't forget to give yourself a new target. Because the moment you stop having a goal, it's surprisingly easy to start spending the money you worked so hard to save. The first $10,000 gives you stability. What you do next determines whether it becomes real wealth. After $10,000, the goal isn't just to save more money, it's to make better money decisions. You stop asking, can I afford this? And start asking, is this worth it? You become more patient because you know one bad financial decision doesn't have to ruin everything. And instead of chasing quick wins, you start thinking in years. That's when money starts becoming less about survival and more about freedom. Your first $10,000 won't make you wealthy overnight, but it can completely change the direction you're heading. And once you understand that, the next $10,000 becomes a lot easier to build. So if you're still working toward your first $10,000, don't underestimate what you're building. Every dollar you save is buying you a little more security, freedom, and control. And once you reach it, don't stop there. Because the real goal isn't having $10,000. It's becoming the person who knows what to do with it. If you're building your first $10,000 right now, you're already moving in the right direction. And if you want more simple videos about money, saving, investing, and building wealth, subscribe. Because your first $10,000 isn't the finish line. It's where the game starts.